Good afternoon, Open Arms. Today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today's message will be coming from Mark, the 5th chapter, verse 21 through 29. Mark, the 5th chapter, verse 21 through 29. And it reads, And when Jesus was passed over again by ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and besought him, greatly saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing better, but rather grew worse. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind, and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be made whole. 29. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the plague. If I can tag this, I would tag this. My faith is talking. I'm going to say that again. My faith is talking. We find in the book of Matthew, which is the New Testament, it says, Behold, there was a virgin which shall be bring forth a child who will be called Emmanuel, which means God with us. God has always been and will always be the kind of God that will tell us something before it even happens. God would always be the type of God that's always declaring things and speaking things over our lives. And when God speaks it and it comes to pass, we actually know that it was God. Because what God speaks, it will happen in our lives. We find that God will raise up a prophet by the name of Isaiah. And when Isaiah was getting ready to address the people of God, in Isaiah around chapter 42, verse 8 and 9, we will find it says, God has spoken something. He had to declare something, and he declared it before it even happens. So God will give you a word from a man of God or a woman of God, and they will speak something over your life and declare something over your life before it even happens. The Bible lets us know in Romans chapter 4, verse 17, it says that God called those things which be not as though they were, and speaks of a man by the name Abram, which his name was later changed to Abraham, which means many nations. By the time God calls him, he has no children at all. God spoke that over his life before it actually happens. The Bible declares in Proverbs that there is power of life and death, that it flows out of our tongue, and that we shall live by the fruit thereof, and not by the fruit of life. But sometimes we live by the fruit of the death words only. I must be careful of how I speak into other people's lives. I also must be careful of how I speak about my own life and my children, because there is power in the words that I speak. I must be careful not to even speak when I am too emotional, because sometimes if you are in an emotional place, you will speak from your flesh and not from your spirit, because our words has power. We must learn how to be careful with what we say, careful with what we do, careful in how we speak, because we speak life. We will find that God is the kind of God that will open doors in our lives. And he will tell you that he opened the door before the door actually opens. And there was a prophet down in Samaria in the book of Kings. Samaria was in a famine situation. They couldn't get any food in, and they couldn't get any food out. And after they ran out of food, they were going to just sit there and die. And they messed around and got in touch with the man of God. And the man of God declared around tomorrow, this time, their situation is going to be turned around. What are you saying? I am saying that when the man of God get in touch with God, God takes their situation and turns it around. God tells the man of God about an open door. I don't know what you're facing. I don't know how many times you tried to get there, and it seems as things have been denied. But I believe God is getting ready to open doors in your life. See, one thing about doors, they open and they close. See, if a man opens the door, he can close the door. But see, when God opens the door in your life, there isn't a devil in hell that can close that door. I am so grateful that God not only opened the door, but according to John, God just won't open the door, but he is the door. How in the world can you open the door and be the door at the same doggone time? I am learning not to just shout over the open door, but to shout over the closed door too. We know how to shout over open doors, but we don't want to shout over the closed door. Don't you know that God, the God that we serve, is still blessing us when he says no and the door is closed? Sometimes if we would have known what was on the other side of that door, we would have told God, thank you anyway. God can see further than you. God says, girl, if I open that door, you will catch more hell than a little bit. So I'm going to keep it locked. Don't complain when you could have been crying, when you should have been shouting. We have to learn how to praise God over the closed door. Can you praise over the closed door? Can you praise when you don't get the job? Can you praise when you don't get the loan for that house? Can you praise when you don't drive that new car off the lot? Can you praise God for that closed door? Sometimes when God has that door closed, he has a better door down the road.